What's up, YouTube? It's your guy Truth coming back at you again. I want to talk about not giving up, right? Before we get started, if you guys could, like, share, and subscribe to this video, I really appreciate it. Most importantly, if you disagree with anything I say, or you do agree, or you want to cover some other topics, please comment. Any and all interaction helps the channel grow, and I really would appreciate it. So I want to talk about not giving up, right? All too often, we find ourselves in what we necessarily wouldn't be the best place in life, right? Whatever the situation may be, we find ourselves, at a crossroads, or not even so much a crossroads, at least a crossroad would be a direction, right? But sometimes we might find ourselves in a situation where we don't know which way to go. We would consider ourselves stuck, and everything is falling down around us, right? It just seems that whatever we're doing, the worst continues to happen, right? And that's when I think the most important thing you can do at that point is, not give up, right? Because you never know when the situation is going to turn itself around. And all too often, the come up or the sunshine is right around the corner. You could be giving up in the, right before the sun rises, right? There's a cartoon, I'm not sure of the meme. It's a meme or a cartoon. Basically, guy's digging for gold, and, he's been digging for a long time, right? He's made a lot of ground. And he's about an inch away from hitting the treasure, right? The treasure's right behind this edge. And he's like, you know what? I'm just going to give up, right? And, if he'd have just persevered through the storm just a little bit longer, persevered through the situation just a little bit longer, he would hit pay dirt, right? So I want to, encourage all of us here today to really don't give up on, what you want. I'm sorry if the lighting sucks. It's a little, leaving work and it's a little late in the evening. So excuse the lighting. But like I said, I just want to talk about giving up. The main thing to do when you're feeling down and you're feeling, that the pressure of the world's on you. I don't know if you guys are spiritual or anything, but I am spiritual. I do believe in God. I'm a Christian. So before I allow myself to speak ill, right? So before I allow myself to say, oh my goodness, this is going wrong, blah, 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 I say, I take a step back and I say, I trust God, right? And the reason I do that is because it allows me to pause, right? First and foremost, allows me to pause and really take consideration of my situation, right? And number two, no one's ever gotten anywhere by worrying or despairing, right? So before I despair, it allows me to pause and realize that whatever moment this is shall pass, right? And you can also take that moment to look back at situations in your life where something you thought was terrible at the time eventually passed. And what did you do? You kept going, right? You put one foot in front of the other and you continued on the journey. So before you give up, just pause. Remind yourself that, this isn't the first situation. This might be the worst situation so far in your life, or it may not be, but sometimes it may be the worst situation that you've encountered so far. But it's not the first, right? And one thing that also gives me comfort, right, is think about it like this. How many people lived before you in your bloodline so that you can be here? You owe it to them to keep going, right? If you could trace your bloodline, because that's what a lot of human beings don't realize. There's nobody here, no human being on the planet, that their bloodline doesn't go back into antiquity, right? If you go far back enough, your bloodline goes back into antiquity, which means what? Which means that you have ancestors that struggled and did everything they could to make sure that the next generation was born, right? And if they had given up and just threw in the towel, then their children would have not survived, and you wouldn't be here, right? And you got to think about, the next generation of people, right? It's more than just you involved in this. You're one cog in the bloodline, and there's so many that came before you that suffered in order for you to have more, have a chance at this life, right? And when you take that into consideration, how much they struggled, and what all they had to scrape up just to survive in the time that they lived, you realize that some of the troubles that we think are large are very small. I mean, obviously, there's people on here that may be struggling with something massive, but sometimes, it's very small in the grand scheme of things, what you're looking at, right? Like the example, you can't pay a bill, you're worried about paying that bill. It's not the end of the world if that bill doesn't get paid. And worrying about it and stressing about it is never going to help you pay that bill, right? So you sitting there worrying about it at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning is not going to make that bill get paid any faster, right? So the only thing you could do is say, okay, I have this issue. Not exactly sure how I'm going to solve this issue, but I am going to believe that it will be solved, and I'm going to put one foot in front of the other, and I'm going to do what I have to do. If the situation doesn't go in my favor, it's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. I promise you, it's not the end of the world. Everything happens as it's supposed to happen. I think that you putting all this effort and energy into trying to change something that's outside of your realm of changing just creates more of a strain on you, right? I believe that, and with that said, I believe that, if you have done everything that you can do, then that's all you can do, right? Because you can't control other people and you can't control other situations. What you can control is what you do, what you do in a situation. Now, for somebody that may be financially stressing, my channel is all about, taking personal accountability and doing what you got to do. Yeah, it may be okay to stress about finances, but what are you doing to change your finances, right? Are you working extra hours? Are you going back to school? Are you, reorganizing your budget? If you have a pitfall, are you selling things that you don't need in order to come up with the money? I mean, that's something I've done in the past. I mean, sometimes we spend our money on frivolous things, right? And, a bill or something comes up, sell it. You can always buy it again. One thing I don't, my captain when I was in the military told me, never sell anything that you can't get back, right? But everything else, if it's something that's common and you can get it back, sell it. You have clothes that you're not wearing, go sell them. All right, go to a thrift shop, sell them. You may not get much, but it's more than nothing. It's more than more than nothing, right? So it's something that you got, you got some things, you got multiples of things. Pick the one that you like the best and sell that one, and sell the rest, right? Keep the one you like the best, or keep the one that's irreplaceable, and sell everything else, right? Also, I'm not a person that gives out, financial advice or everything like that, but if a bill's due, let's say today's the 3rd, right, and the bill's due on the 15th, and you don't get paid until a couple days after that, pay the bill then, right? I mean, you're stressing about things that are not that major, you know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the most important thing you can do is keep a positive attitude and do what you got to do. And sometimes that may be, getting rid of useless things and putting yourself in a better position. Sometimes you have to really take a look at your finances, and I mean, this is a lot of this, for finances and, some financial pitfalls that I feel that most people stress over. You have a car payment that's just too much. You might need to think about trading in that car, you know what I mean? Because you're drowning. You went off and you bit more than you can chew, and now that car is making your life miserable, right? So it's time to make some changes. That's the things you should be thinking about at night. But worrying about, oh gosh, how am I going to take care of this, blah, 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 it's never going to get you anywhere, right? So those are some things to think about. I want you guys to give up. I want you guys to, put one foot in front of the other, and, you might have some situations where, it feels like it's taking forever to get done. Like you might be in school and it's taking forever. You might be in college, or you're looking for a job right now because, can't find something. You're tempted to give in to the pressure. You're like, I'm not finding anything. What should I do? Just keep going. You keep applying. Look for things that may be more of a better fit for you. Sometimes you might even have to pivot, the industry completely. Of course, that's the last effort, but you need to look at what skills you have and say, okay, how does this apply to another position? Right? So let's say I'm looking for a position that does X, Y, Z. I might need to go for a position that does 1, 2, 3. My same credentials might be important, but my actual job experience may not directly apply. Right? And sometimes you just gotta take a shot. Sometimes you might look at a job and be like, you know what, I don't qualify for that. I'm just gonna take a shot. You never know what candidate they're looking for. Unfortunately, it's so weird. In some of the jobs I've gotten, I didn't have all the skills. I had enough skills to get my name in the door. As far as my credentials, but I didn't have everything they're looking for. But they were willing to work with me because I had a majority of it. Right? So don't be afraid to apply for that job. Don't be afraid to keep going. And number one, above all things, is don't be afraid to bet on yourself and decide that, hey, I am worth giving this another day. I am worth giving this another hour. I am worth giving this another shot, right? Don't give up on yourself prematurely, right? I mean, there's times when you're throwing, good money after bad, right? But there are other times where you're almost there. And all you have to do is keep going and not give up. And I was talking about this in a video yesterday. Sometimes if you've built the right foundation, right, you put yourself in a position that you can keep going because you haven't been spending frivolously. You haven't been, putting yourself in a position to where your bills are eating you alive. It gives you a little bit surer footing to pursue your dreams and to keep going. But anyway, this is just some thoughts, some things that I was thinking about. All too often I hear people are in, hardship, and they're ready to just throw in a towel because things are just not working for them. And I mean, I've been there. I understand the frustration. But one thing that always stuck out to me is that things can change in an instant, right? So, keep that in mind, that no matter how bad it is right now, things can turn around for you in an instant. So anyway, that is my thoughts for right now. We'll dive into it. I like to string my videos together and break them thoughts up into, multiple videos. And I like to piggyback, or I like my one friend said, veggie back, and from one topic to another. So I'm sure we'll revisit this at another time. Anyway, this is your man Thru signing off for you. Like I said, if you could do me a favor and like, share, and subscribe, it really helped me. Thanks, guys.